Hey, good morning. Good morning on this 29th day of May in the year of our Lord 2025. I'm Reverend Susan Smith, and you are joining me for Thursday morning, a reading from my book, Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul. I'm hoping that you had a good holiday, good Memorial Day, and you're doing well in your spirit because there's so much stuff going on. There's so much uncertainty. People don't know what's gonna be the next day. What's gonna happen the next day? Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. You're getting all these stupid and relentless texts about this is gonna go and this is gonna go and this is gonna go. And I am sure it is making people depressed. I really am sure that it's doing that because there's no certainty. I think about the thousands of people who have been laid off or fired, and I think they've lost their benefits, and they just don't have the certainty that they don't have a job, so they won't be able to pay their mortgages or all of that. There's so much at stake, and so many people are, and we're just in a place of uncertainty. Meanwhile, the man in the White House wants to have this giant, humongous military parade on his birthday. $92 million is what they say it's going to cost. $92 million, while people are trying to figure out if they're going to have their health care the next day. I mean, it's just a whole lot to swallow and to accept. And my prayer is that people are watching and listening and paying attention and deciding to do what they can to resist. I was talking with a group of people yesterday, and we're talking about how the resisting Target has been relatively effective. Target is feeling the brunt of what has happened, although they're still letting go people that are in DEI. That's just craziness to me. But we were talking about how much more difficult it is to boycott Amazon because Amazon makes everything so accessible and so easy. But yet, we do know that the best way to resist this kind of evil, this is capitalism and power. This is money and power at its own. This is not about male, female. This is not about and good and bad. This is about moral and immoral, right and wrong. And and the people in power just want more power and more money at the expense of the masses of people who don't have that kind of money. So it's imperative for us to continue to figure out ways how to resist. And so Amazon for me is like, okay, so I'm spending much less on Amazon, and it's difficult. It's just difficult because that guy made that service just so accessible in so many ways. So there's that, but we do have to resist. We do have to resist. So now I'm reading that Mr. Musk is mad at Mr. Trump, and okay, so then Doge might be held up for being unconstitutional. Duh, tell us something that we don't know, and so we continue to go through this, whatever this is that this guy is doing with so many Republican lawmakers and Democrats, I would bet as well, being totally silent about it because they're afraid. They're afraid that he's gonna hang them out to dry. And I think that if they would band together, they could hang him out to dry. We still have just a teeny bit enough or left of our system to stop this guy, but nobody's willing to do it because they want money and they want power. And I'm going to tell you something, that when people want money and power that bad, nobody is safe. Nobody was safe. People who voted for him, who thought that he would be on their side or finding out, no, he's not on anybody's side but his own, his own. And I'm watching and I'm kind of chuckling, although I'm kind of worried, as he attacks Putin. He says, I've had a good relationship with Putin. What? Everybody, well, maybe not everybody. Many people know that Putin has been playing this man from the beginning. He has recognized his weaknesses, his need to be adored and complimented, and he has done all that to get his big Russian foot in the American door. That's what's been happening. And now he's kind of pushing back on Putin. And I'm just kind of sitting on the sidelines saying, well, what's going to happen with this? This is not good. He's calling Putin crazy. Putin has always been crazy, I guess. I mean, he's not changed. So I'm trying to figure out what that's all about. But I'm just saying that we need to be cognizant. We need to be vigilant. We need to be preparing for whatever's going to happen to us, with these tariffs. I read yesterday that the United States blocked most of the Trump tariffs, and said that the president exceeded his authority. Okay, well, then what's going to happen? Because what I'm also seeing is that the very wealthy don't have to abide by the laws everybody else has to abide to, starting with the president. He should not even be president. But now this guy yesterday pardons these two people who are reality show people who had a home remodeling program on television, and they were accused and convicted of embezzling a lot of money or mishandling a lot of money, and he's pardoning them. Just okay. Let me look. He's letting the criminal is letting criminals go. The criminals letting criminals off the street. It's just too much to fathom. But it's not new. This country has been through periods of turmoil before, and we have come out of it. My prayer is that we will realize that we have to work hard together to come out of this as well. So that's my rant. Elon Musk is mad. He's mad. He's leaving the Trump White House after they say a contentious tenure. His program Starlink isn't working out so well, so he's mad about that. I guess another one of his little vessels blew up in space, so he didn't like that. And then Mr. Trump is directing his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to aggressively revoke Chinese student visas in a major escalation with the country. It's just the biggest mess. I said something the other day to a friend of mine. I said, this guy who's running our country now could be nominated for Times Man of the Year. You know why? Not because he's an honorable person, but because he's a totally dishonorable person, and he is wrecking the world. Wrecking the world. He is wrecking the world. It is unbelievable what he's doing. And all these spineless people around him are letting him do it. I wish that we could just do a blanket impeachment. All y'all get out of office because you don't have the spine that it takes to run a government. You don't care about your people. Oh, you don't care about your people. All you care about is kissing the ring of this guy who wants to take all of our rights away. So, with that in mind, I'm hoping that people will do what they can to resist, wherever you shop. I'm paring down Amazon. I'll get there. It's just going to take a minute. But we need to make our voices known. And they don't care about really marches in the streets. They're figuring it because they're letting people out of prison who have committed violent crimes, and they're deputizing them and making it so that they can just be in police forces. That's not new. But be in police forces and just kind of bang us upside the head if we're out there. So we have to be very, very strategic about how we resist, but we must resist. We absolutely must resist, because if we don't, we are horse meat. We're just done. And we don't want that to be the case. Too many people work too hard, too long. Too many people got their heads cracked open. Too many people died on buses and tours and all that, trying to make sure that all people had the right to vote. These clowns don't want everybody to vote. They don't want. I always go back to that Paul Weyrich thing where he said in some public speech, he says, we don't want everybody to vote. I said, okay, well, there's that. Don't want black people, doesn't want brown people, doesn't want women to vote, doesn't want women to vote. They want them to stay home. Then I said in a sermon on Sunday, I said, I think, these people who say the women are just supposed to stay home and clean. What? God gave everybody a brain. He didn't do a male brain and a female brain. He did a brain. Everybody's got a brain. And for these patriarchal supporters of patriarchy to say that, that the world should be under the rule of men, it shows just an inordinate amount of arrogance. And this world is better because of the contributions of people, different people, black people, brown people, people from India, people from all of these people with these magnificent brains. They have things that they can do and think about. These patriarchs, these white male patriarchs here, think that the world should be under the rule of white men. So they don't want women to vote. And I said in the sermon, I said, God made women for more than getting married and having babies. Everybody don't want a baby, and everybody should not have a baby, since we're talking. So there's just a lot to think about. And I think that everybody must understand that everybody has a bone in this fight. Everybody. If you think you are safe under this president and his administration, think again. Watch, look, listen, and see what's going on. And if we don't fight, let's see, Fannie Lou Hamer said, until all of us are free, none of us are free. And I'm telling you right now on this day that none of us are free. So, anyway, good morning. I'm Reverend Susan Smith, and I want to thank you who are watching me this morning. Um, for those of you who are watching from California, 4 in the morning, thank you so much. I'm so honored that you do that. I'm glad you're here. I was not here for the past 2 weeks. I was, been traveling for the last 3 weeks. And I tell you, when I go to these hotels, I just can't get the lighting right. It's just too crazy for me. So I apologize, but here I am. And I normally read. Well, I don't normally. I this uh, Thursday morning thing came about because of the book I wrote, "Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul," and there are meditations for people who are fighting for justice. So there's only 90 of them in there, and of course, I've been doing these Thursday morning things for a long time. So if you have not purchased the book, "Rest for the Justice Seeking Soul," I wish that you would, and if you have purchased it, continue to read it. I'm get so overjoyed when people say, "I'm having my whole family read it." Yay, you're having family readings around this. I'm glad about it. And what we do in that book is we try to stitch together history with the justice issues of today, because I think we all need to know more of our history. So I like it. It feeds me sometimes when I read back on it. I really like it, but I hope that you will read and like it as well. So today, when I don't read from the book, which is not very frequently at this point, because I've read so many of them, I share with you the meditation that I write on Tuesday, every single Tuesday. Every single Tuesday, I write a meditation and I send it out to people who have indicated that they want to receive it. And if you want to receive it, all you have to do is email at crazyfaith2019@gmail.com, and I will put your name on the distribution list. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you, those of you who are doing it, who are subscribing. And I ask that you ask your friends and family to watch the YouTube thing that this comes on, and like and subscribe. But also, if they want the book, to please want the book, to buy it. It's available at all booksellers. Or if you want to get this, the meditation every week, Crazy Faith 2019@gmail.com, and we will certainly put you on the list. So today I'm reading, of course, from what I did on Tuesday, and it's called About Plantations in America. Several years ago, when I participated in a pilgrimage for people to visit the sites of African American history in the South, we visited the well known Boone Plantation. The big house sits imposing at the end of the long road that leads to it. On the sides of the plantation are cabins where enslaved people lived. I wanted to see a plantation, just like I wanted to and did visit a German concentration camp when I visited Germany. I wanted to see the places where so much evil was done to people whose lives did not matter. The visit to the Boone Plantation was my second time there. I had also visited the Whitney Plantation in Louisiana sometime earlier, and in both instances, I found myself getting to a location and standing still, wondering how Black people had been able to survive and pass on their spirits of hope despite their situations. I wondered too how people could deny that slavery was as bad as it was, and the concentration camp, how people could sleep at night as they put innocent people to death just because they were Jewish. The visit to the Boone Plantation made me sad. On this particular day, there was a young woman posing for pictures in front of the big house. I was told these were pictures that would be added to their wedding album once they tied the knot. I heard her talking about where she would stand while the bridesmaids ascended the steps to the big house, and how the ushers would meet them at the foot of that staircase to assist. It was like reliving what the South had been for white people in real time, or so I imagined it. Our group was led into the interior of the home, and it was magnificent. But Black people built it. She didn't say anything about that. And while we were on the tour, I kept asking what the role of Black people had been on this particular site. She really didn't answer it. When we went into the kitchen, I saw little hands, little fingers imprinted or smashed in the bricks that made up the floor. And I asked why. The reason, said the now exasperated tour guide, was because the children were forced to make bricks alongside their parents. These little teeny kids with their little fingers. Their little fingers told the story of how touching those hot bricks was just part of the job. That I shivered, because I wondered if they cried out when they touched the hot bricks, and if they did, what kind of punishment they received. As I was asking my questions, a white woman turned to me and said angrily, "Oh, for heaven's sake, be quiet. We didn't come here to hear all of that." And I had something to say. I'm not even going to get into that, but What? Later, when our group got back to the hotel, a little white lady came to me and said, her eyes aglow, "You visited the plantation today, didn't you?" And I looked up at her and said nothing. She was a sweet old lady. She was very sweet. She had a really sweet spirit. But she said, "You visited the plantation." And her face was just full of this joy. I didn't say anything. And she said, "Oh, I know it might hurt people a little bit because your history is different than ours. But didn't you think the place was gorgeous? Couldn't you just see the women in their wide hoop skirts?" As she served my dinner, as she served my dinner, she said, "I know that experience wasn't good for you people," and I felt my back arch in protest, "but it's just so beautiful. I wish you people could see the beauty that's there." I left my dinner on the table. I thought about that experience when I listened to the owner of the Nottoway plantation, the oldest and largest in the South, talk about the fire that destroyed it last week. He said that they would rebuild, and he also made mention of the fact that some people rejoiced at its destruction. He said that he knew there was some painful history there, but, quote, we didn't do it. These buildings, now resort and vacation venues, are about our history and we must preserve it. I'm kind of paraphrasing it, but that's what it was. Though it is painful, we need to visit our memories of what has happened in our history. I was it just kind of hit me that these people really don't get it. There's a disconnect. You talk about cognitive dissonance. There's a disconnect between what enslavement was and how their ancestors made that happen. There's a disconnect. They see Scarlett O'Hara. They don't see all the people who are making bricks, having little babies, making bricks and cooking food and planting the trees and feeding. They don't see any of that. They don't see any of it. So it's up to us to let the children know. We have to let our children know what our history was and how we got over and how we must continue to sharpen our awareness of who we are and whose we are, as it is clear this society does not take our lives seriously and wants people, black and white, to gloss over the pain it has caused. In this period of time, when the powers that be are trying to erase us and our history, may we stand on our 2 feet and say with our full chest, no, no, no. May our eyes be open and our hearts be connected to God so that what they are trying to do will ultimately fail. Amen and amen. That is my rant for today. Uh, what has happened to you? They don't care